Hey everyone, it's Jason, and welcome to a little bit different video for the Zombicide second editions. This is Washington, ZC, and Fort Hendrix campaign expansions. I have previously done unboxings for both of them, so you can go ahead and watch those if you want more of an in-depth on what is in each thing and what the full campaign and all that stuff covers. What this video is going to be is showing off a comparison between the two. So if you decide, hey, I own Zombicide 2nd Edition, I'm going to pick up an expansion. Which one should I pick up? Now again, you can watch the full unboxing to see every little bit. Here I'm going to do a little bit more of a side-by-side comparison of the two. Just so you can kind of see what different components or my thoughts on the comparison between each are a little bit easier when I can show them side by side. So for the actual how the campaign works, they're going to work the same way. They both have 10 missions each. They each have the same brand new rules that use the light source tokens. So what I'm going to do is we're going to kind of go like up this a little bit more here. I'm trying not to knock my camera down. So we'll have Washington ZC on the left side, Fort Hendrix on the right side. So they're going to have their same overall tokens. They have the day and light cycle and 6 flashlight. So Fort Hendrix has all of those. Washington ZC has those as well. But also you get a Humvee token, which can be used for some various stuff. You can add it to other modes if you definitely wanted to, but it does have that extra little difference. Then they have their campaign booklets, which are going to be the campaign sheets, which are the exact same things. There's no differences in them, so you're not getting like different abilities based on which set you take. So that doesn't make any difference there. So then of course you're going to have the giant stack of cards. Which, again, 10 missions each. Now, these are going to be different for each one because each mission is different and they use different tiles. So that's kind of that's back and forth there. And then you get your set of all-out dice, which will be the same for each set. So those are the base things that are the same. Where we start getting the differences, of course, is going to be the map tiles and the cards and the characters. So the Washington set has, as I feel, has more unique shaped tiles and different, a different aesthetic than the core Zombicide. You're gonna get your hallways, which are inside buildings, which are kind of like streets. Typically, buildings usually only have room. Here you're gonna have like hallways that you could have in between rooms. Which add kind of just a different aesthetic. Plus, the rooms are, I think, there's a lot more rooms on here, because there's, like, this tile is nothing but rooms, but there's a lot more connectivity. There's openings here, openings there. So if, like, you start combining some of these side by side, you have little gaps up on the top there. Then you could have another one, up on this side. It's going to then have, an entrance here, plus an entrance there. So there's a lot more running through building rooms versus open tiles on here. Now, there definitely are some open tiles when you start getting to the military side, because you're going to be able to add, like, the sandbags and the tank in there, and you can definitely, like, do this different directions. Like, there's a really nice little safe spot that's, guarded a lot, or if you even turn it this way. Makes it a lot harder for zombies to get in, because they can't cross some sandbags. So there's only one way for zombies to get in, is that little hole there. So you get some different ones there. But even like this, a little tiny room, 2 more tiny rooms, big old room. Odd shaped room there with like the carpet there, which is meant to typically run into. It's supposed to always line up like that, so they're kind of always, you're meant to almost always be sort of the same way, like for something like this one, but still, you could make some really neat, different things, in there as well. I wish there were more outside tiles, there's not enough of them as far as I'm concerned. I could definitely see wanting to buy a second pack for that, of tile pack, just for that reason. So that's one big difference with that versus the Fort Hendrix, which I feel like is a lot more typical. You got your outside streets with your couple of buildings inside, your main building with 2 streets. So it's going to fit a lot more right into the regular Zombicide aesthetic with, streets on the outside, corner buildings, things like that, like 4 rooms, 3 rooms. That one's a little bit different shape, but yeah, lots of them are the same as the other ones, except for the giant helicopter, which is kind of a neat one in and of itself. Yeah, so if you want more standard looking Zombicide tiles, Fort Hendrix is your way to go for that. But if you want some more different shapes, different designs and feel, the Washington GC definitely has some different things there. The other big difference to point out is they each one has a special deck of cards for special weapons. So the military, Fort Hendrix has a military set, and Washington, trying to knock everything over here, has the Secret Service set. So they each have their own different set of equipment, which we'll kind of look at that. But the Washington set, you can only get your cards from these specific areas that have the Secret Service symbol. So some of these tiles, like this one, don't even have one of those. So you can't access any of them. This one doesn't have any either. Yeah, so they're a lot more limited on where you can get your equipment from. So you can't just grab it from wherever. There's only certain rooms that have it. So they make them items a little bit harder to get. Versus the Fort Hendrix, where you can get them from any military base. So you search one of these like you'd search a normal room. As long as it's on a military tile, you can opt to choose from the military one. So they work just like any other deck. So you're going to get a lot more weapons of the military ones of the special deck from Fort Hendrix. So there's kind of our differences between those two things. Yeah, so again, it's always an aesthetic thing. Is one definitely better than the other? No. You could buy both, mix and match all 3 sets together very easily. Plus, the Rio set should be coming out at some point, which is going to add a completely different flavor to all this. Alright, so the next thing I want to look at are equipment cards. So I'm going to reset my thing up here really quick. Alright, so I want to show up all the different equipment cards. I'm going to go through them just next to each other, but I'm not going to spend a ton of time. So on this side will be Washington. This right side will over here, the green side will be the Fort Hendrix. Just to kind of compare what you're getting in each set, just so you know that you are getting slightly different stuff. So in the Washington set, you're getting 3 pistols. Whereas the Hendrix, you're only getting 1 pistol. So there's kind of already a difference there. Now, these decks replace the original decks because they use the all-out mechanic, which is the little red die, little red extra symbol on there. But there's kind of a difference. You're already getting 2 different stuff there. So then you're getting a fire axe in each one, and a crowbar in each one. Now, the stats are going to be the same on all the cards. That doesn't change. Just which one you're getting. I'm trying to see if I can... There we go. That's a little bit better. It's not the best. I can probably zoom in a little bit more. But then now to replace those other ones, you are also getting... So now we only have 3 cards so far in here. And we have all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm missing a starter card. Oh, there we go. So then we also get a baseball bat for the starter set. So that's all 6 there. So then instead of our extra pistols and baseball bat, we get 2 rifles, and a Kabar. So you're going to get a little bit more dangerous weapons in the military set. It's kind of to show the difference between your types of survivors. The Washington set has more civilian, survivors. The Fort Hendrix has the military survivors, so you get a little bit more dangerous weapons to begin with. So that's just kind of an interesting thing there. So now what is neat though is if you bought both sets, you could always mix and match all those together and randomly shuffle them out, so you could get different amounts of each things. But yeah, just wanted to kind of point that out. Up next we have the red pimp weapons, which are they do have some differences as well. So we're gonna of course get our obligatory ARG cards. We're both gonna get an enemy sniper rifle. So now we have an automatic shotgun on this side. On the Washington side, but we got the golden AK. So we do get the golden AK on this side as well. And we also get the golden Kruki. So we get both of them. So far the difference is we have an automatic shotgun on this side, but we don't have one on there. So what they kind of did was the Washington side, we got the Evil Twins, the Gunblade, my shotgun, Nailback, and the Zantetsuken, which I believe are all the same ones that are in the core set. The military, though, we get Patton's 358 Magnum, his Patton's Long Colt, a prize katana, an assault shotgun, a siege hammer, and a wrist breaker. So again, you get a little bit more powerful-ish weapons. Now, again, powerful is always subjective, because even if you look at these two bladed weapons, the wrist breaker, you get to roll one more die and it does one more damage, but it also has worse accuracy. So it's kind of back and forth, which is better to use. But then you also get your Maj shotgun and your Gunblade in the Washington set, which work as dual weapons, versus this one you get the Patton weapons, which work better together. So it's kind of, just different stuff. Again, the prize katana versus a Zen set is objectively, could be getting stage better or worse. Rolls one less dice, but has a lot better accuracy. But yeah, so different prize weapons. Again, you can always mix and match those. Now, here's what's also interesting. There's the decks for the blue weapons. So you're going to get a lot more advanced weapons in the Washington set, but you're going to get a lot less in the Fort Hendrix. And part of that's because the Washington set with the map, I said you have to search specific areas for the special Secret Service weapons, so they didn't want to have you focus as much on them, where the military weapons you get to draw a lot more. So again, now comparing those two decks is almost the exact opposite. You're going to get a lot more of the special military weapons versus the Secret Service. So I'm going to kind of flip through these. It's sort of fast. So we have waters, stay the same. We have some sniper rifles and some submachine guns. We do get some sniper rifles on this side. We get 2 shotguns. And then we have our 4 copies of sawed-off in each one. But now we get an extra pistol. We have 3 copies of plenty of shells and plenty of bullets. Now, there's none, and there's a pistol as well. Now, there's none of them in the Fort Hendrix set because they're in the military deck. So, the plenty of ammo is in the military set, not the advanced weapons. This is one other thing I thought was sort of crazy. So, we have our Molotovs, which are, everyone loves the Molotov cocktails. So, you get 4 of each. But here's a very big difference. In the Washington set, they have the lock icon. You might get to keep them. In the military set, you don't. That's the only card I think I've seen where they've had different text on them between one set to the other. So that's actually kind of cool. So if you want, to keep your Molotovs, get the one set. We get 4 machetes in Washington, where we only get 2 in Fort Hendrix. The Kurai, we get 2 of each. We get 2 katanas in each. So that sometimes it stays the same. 2 flashlights. Extra fire axe in each one. Now we do get an extra crowbar. We have the crowbar in this set. We get 2 chainsaws for each set. And 2 cans of food. So now, this set, though, also has 2 bags of rice. You get a little bit more extra AP stuff, and then you have your 4 ambush cards, which are the same for each one. So it's kind of different. Yeah, you get a little bit different stuff there. And if we look at the last 2, which these 2 aren't going to be nearly as comparable because they're completely different stuff, but we're going to get 2 ambush cards in each one. But now, this is what makes this very interesting as well. Again, which one would you like to get? Because they're going to have very different weapons. And again, the military, the Fort Hendrix, you can get these from any of the Fort Hendrix tiles. As long as you're playing on them tiles, you can get them in anywhere. Where the Washington set, you get the Secret Service, you have to get them from a specific spot. So that's going to make a difference. So I'm just going to kind of throw these up as we'll go. They're not going to be anywhere near comparable. We get some snack cakes in the Washington set, which is fun. We get some tactical Halligans. There's definitely cards in either one of these I could see having. We get the Riot Shield, which is definitely fun. 4 copies of the Sig Sauer. We're going to get 6 copies of the Repair Kit in both sets. And then this one has 2 copies of each of the Plenty of Bullets and Plenty of Shells. So you don't actually even get as many copies of those as you do in the other set. Then we have 2 night vision goggles, which stay the same. Just some of the new cards we get both of. We're going to get 4 of these MP5s. We have 2 Mosenbergs. We have 2 Colt rifles. 2 machetes. 4 Kabars, which we started with as a starter weapon in the Hendrix set. We have 2 Tactical Tomahawks, 2 MREs, and then we also get our 4 extra Kabars. Then the Washington set, we will get 4 Glock 17s. We'll have 2 HK MP7s, and then 4 H&K MP5s. Here we have 2 folding shovels, which are kind of fun. 2 flashlights, and 2 Desert Eagles. And then the military one, we will have 2 more flashlights, 4 Colt M4 carbines, 2 Colt M16s, and then finally we have 4 incendiary grenades, which are definitely something you don't get in the other set. So you see there's a bunch of different weapons, they do different stuff. A couple of them are repeats in each one, but you can see where they definitely be very interesting. And now again, if you're playing not just the campaign, but your own set, you could mix and match all these tiles and do this and that, or you could just even be like, who cares? It's my game. I can, instead of drawing advanced weapons, I can draw from these decks. An option of which one you want to draw from. You could have a lot more options of different weapons. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of show off the different things. So the military one definitely has a lot more power behind it. You're going to get a lot more weapons easily, or better weapons, I shouldn't necessarily easier. But that's one of the big differences there. So then the next thing we have to look at are survivors. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time going through all the survivors. I'm going to just show them off. Watch the video if you want me to read through all their actions. The unboxing ones. But here we have those different survivors. So the basic one is, again, civilians versus military. So one thing I did notice with this is the Washington characters have a lot more of the all-out abilities, it seems, than the Army guys do. And it kind of makes more sense. Like, the Army guys are going to use them, but they're going to use them strategically. Like, hey, we need to go all out, but we know when to use them. Where the civilians might be like, oh, we can just unleash on stuff, we're going to do it more often. But they're not going to think of the repercussions because they're not trained. Plus, these guys have some other different cool actions as well. Again, but it's kind of a flavor thing. Each guy, like any of these Zombicides, any of these characters are, what you want them to do. Like, Carl here is all about ranged action, sniper, free range attack, Reaper combat. Like, he's gonna take guys out during combat and kill stuff. Mindy here is all about melee. She gets free all-out action, free melee, free move, free bloodlust, melee 2 damage. So you can kind of see they're completely different characters. I have Justin and Marion. So we have a medic on here. A medic might definitely be a character you want. Or Justin has Jack of all trades. He gets to use one of the campaign abilities every turn. So he has a rotating set of abilities he can choose from all the time, which is kind of fun. Here we have our 2 chainsaw wielding ladies, just happen to be on the same time. Yeah, very different types of abilities though for them, being that you're both melee characters. Lots of extra dice roll, free move actions, stuff like that. She has more stuff like all out, double dice, she has taunt, spare parts you can use all out. So as a mechanic, she's all about using that all out ability. We have Riley and Anton. Melee range, kind of where do you need her to be? Where he's just all about, ranged and extra combat. And then the last 2 are Wayne and Angelo, the veteran and the eco-terrorist. Which he has a cool brother in arms abilities, Angelo here, which basically if he's on the same zone as another character, they both get the ability. So it's kind of cool because he's kind of helpful that way. Where Wayne is all about controlling where zombies are. He can push them, he can taunt them, he can charge into them. Yeah, it's a very interesting different types of characters depending on what route you're looking at. Alright, so then the very, last 2 things we're going to look at would be extra characters. So, the presidential Washington set, you get the advisor, Taylor, and the president. As extra survivors, which just work with the campaign and do stuff. And the other one you get, I believe her name was Penny, the biologist, who literally has to be used for the entire campaign. She follows along every single mission, and your goal is to keep her alive. So there's sort of one big difference between the 2 campaigns. Washington set, there might be some missions that require you to rescue the president, or get him somewhere, or do something, but it's not every mission. Where Fort Hendrix, your entire goal is you're trying to get this character to Fort Hendrix, or through the base, or wherever. So you're always going to have a companion around. If she dies, you lose the game. So it's a giant escort mission. And that in and of itself might throw some people off, because maybe they don't want to have to deal with that. It might be enough to buy it for all the other components, but not want it for the campaign reason. But if you're trying to buy it for a campaign reason, that might be a reason not to. Then the last thing is the Fort Hendrix comes with zombies. Washington does not have any new zombies. Fort Hendrix has brand new shooter zombies with their own deck, which replaces the original deck, and adds the shooter icon. And these guys are notoriously gonna be a pain in the ass, because anytime a symbol appears on one of the cards, you spawn a card, spawn a walker, has the gun symbol. Any of the shooters that are out, shoot anyone that they can see. Because normally, typically, you do your actions and then spawns happen. So unless they get, so you can kind of gauge, unless they have an extra activation, you kind of gauge oh, am I going to be out of the way? I'm 3 spaces away. No one can reach me unless something crazy happens. It should be fine. Here the thing is, one of them shooters are out. they can, boom, shoot you from any distance. It doesn't matter how far away you are, as long as they can see you. So that makes them a lot harder. Plus, additionally, the fact is, they shoot, then they spawn on any spot that has a character. So when you spawn a walker, a zombie shooter spawns on every walker space that can see your characters. So you could spawn one of them, you could spawn 4 of them, depending on how things are spread out. And that means if there's additional spawns that turn, 3, 4 spawn points, and then later on they draw another shooter card, all them other ones you just spawned can now shoot as well. So it's like, they even show the example in the book, like literally, like there's 3 spawn points. It's nothing, no shooters out. Second spawn point, shooters come out. Or first point, there's no shooters out, so no one does anything. But then you spawn 2 of them. Then the second spawn, you get another shooter thing. Those 2 that are out shoot guys. And then they spawn more guys. Then the third one, you draw another shooter. And so like the other 5 guys that are out all shoot now. And literally, like, they showed after 3 spawn points, one of your characters was dead. One of them had 2 damage. And the other 3 each had 1 damage. And that's 1 spawn round. So now basically the only way for your guys to essentially live is to, like in a scenario like that, which might be far-fetched to draw 3 of them in a row, but the only way for your team to live would literally you'd have to like either run up and kill all them guys, but then it doesn't prevent them from spawning again next turn, or you would have to get out of line of sight of all of them and hide in buildings. And the thing is, Fort Hendrix, as you see on the map, has a lot of open areas. Washington, D.C. doesn't. So they're definitely fun characters. You can also buy an additional box that has 6 more miniatures in case you want more for a higher threat. Some people might like that, definitely. But yeah, that's one thing. If you want some more zombie gameplay, Fort Hendrix should be the way to go. Because you could add these into any scenario. They don't have to only be for Fort Hendrix. But yeah, so that's the difference between the 2 sets. So Washington, oops, oh, I just threw half of my cards on the floor. I didn't see my deck there. That's alright. Yeah, so Washington, ZC versus Fort Hendrix. Ultimately, again, your call on which one you'd rather have. Different tiles, different cards, different campaigns. You want both, you get 10 different, 20 different stories to play. Definitely fun that way. I would have to say, personally, if I was only going to have bought one of these, just before looking at them, I probably would have said, oh, like, Hendrix makes more sense. It's like, there's, like, just kind of glancing at it, I would have been like, oh, the idea of, like, there's, like, more zombies in this. I would say after unboxing, reviewing everything, I like the Washington better. I like doing stuff inside the building, a little bit more hide and seek type things versus the escort mission. Plus, I think the characters are a little bit. I do like some of the military characters definitely, but I also think the shooter zombies are a little bit too powerful. If they just had a ranged attack instead, hey, they could shoot 2 spaces. I only had to stay 2 spaces away instead of like runners that could get next to you. That would have been deadly enough, but that weird shooting mechanic kind of throws me off of it. Alright, so that's what I have for this. If I eventually, when Rio comes out, if that is also a campaign expansion, I might maybe revisit this quick and just show that with them as a comparison there, but we'll wait till that. See you guys later. Bye.